Hey everyone, Sarah here. Welcome back to my channel, Never Out of Books. I swear it was an hour or two ago that I actually watched a video talking about 2020 and nonfiction and a whole year-long readathon sort of thing, and I had to put together a TBR and talk about this. I am not a huge nonfiction reader, definitely not like Natalie at Curious Reader is, but I love putting books into challenges. It makes me feel so accomplished. And this readathon she did such a wonderful job. It's called Curious Adventures. That's the hashtag that will be used. She uses Instagram and YouTube. She does not on Twitter, although I guess you could still use it if you felt like it. And she has 12 prompts for the year, one for every month, to kind of like get you into nonfiction reading and like spreading your wings and thinking about different things. The first prompt is to read a book about a local celebrity or a local specialty, and you can kind of interpret that how you would want to, local being where you can really interpret. I just happened to think about something, so that was good. Lucy Kinsley lives around here. She does like food stuff and things, but she has some like graphic memoirs out. And this year I didn't get to, but I would really like to read Kid Gloves, 9 Months of Careful Chaos. I will have to get this from the library. And she has a couple other memoir sort of things out as well. So I'm thinking that I might at least read Kid Gloves for this one. I really enjoyed Relish a lot. So, and I feel like it's definitely a doable thing because they are like graphic novels. So a little bit easier for me to actually check off my list. The second prompt is to read an experience from someone different than you, or an experience that's different than your own, whether it's author or place or situation or any of those things. I have chosen An African in Greenland by Tete Michel. I can't even say his last name. This is, he's from Togo, and he read a book about Greenland and decided that was like his mission was to go there someday. And he did, and this is his experience. And I'm not a black man, so this is definitely an experience different than my own, and I have never been to Greenland, so on very many levels this is very different than me. So and I've had this on my shelf for just such an extremely long time. It's time to read some of this nonfiction off of my shelf, I think. The third prompt is to learn more about something that you love, which is a pretty broad thing. Most of us like something. I chose for this Maphead by Ken Jennings. I like maps, and so this seems like the perfect book to read. It seems interesting, tongue-in-cheek, you know. I like travel, I like all of this, and so this seemed to fit pretty well. Number 4, there were a couple parts that was like an either-or sort of deal. I just wrote down to read some essays from somewhere else. The only essay collection I have or have ever owned or have ever even thought of reading, because I got it in a book box ages ago, is Alibi's Essays on Elsewhere, which seems to fit pretty perfectly. It's by Andre Assmann. I flipped through, some of them were set in France, and I don't live in France, that is for sure. I live in the very old, boring United States of America. So I will try to read this. The fifth prompt is to read about an activity or a craft or something and then actually do that thing. I don't have anything picked out for this quite yet. My first thought is to read a book about dance and then go and dance, but I already do dance, so I don't know if that would work. but that is kind of free right at this moment, and we'll see what comes my way for it. The sixth prompt is to go to the library, go to the bookstore, whatever, browse through the nonfiction shelves and grab something that you've never heard of or that just strikes your fancy. I guess you could even do this off of your own shelves. This one I'm not going to pick up a book for yet because 12 months is a long time. I have plenty of time to get interested in something. So I will try to get through some of these other books first and then fill this prompt. The seventh prompt is time travel. You know, like she asked a question like, what era would you like to live in or whatever, but basically choose an era and read something about that era. I just picked something off my shelves because again, I would like to read what I have. And I just chose Lafayette in the Somewhat United States by Sarah Vowell. This is about forming the United States, I guess. It's a good as era as any. I don't have to like really live there. Eighth one is to choose a nonfiction fiction pairing that's on a certain topic or theme and read them together. And she linked a couple of videos of people who have already put together pairs. I didn't choose that. I actually, again, in an effort to kind of read my shelves and to read some books that I have still sitting around from a very long time ago, these two books came in a book box together, so I'm assuming that they're kind of themed together, and I'm going to read these two. Smarter Than You Think: How Technology is Changing Our Minds for the Better by Clive Thomas, which is such an interesting thought because most thoughts about technology are negative. So he's arguing the positive. And then the fiction is The Word Exchange, which is about technology in a different way. And I'm finding a very hard time while like reading in the back and trying to summarize what this is about because I don't really know. These supposedly go together. The ninth prompt is to basically pick a nostalgic book. So something that brings back nostalgic feelings to you, something in your childhood or whatever. I happen to have this that I have not read and reviewed yet, called Paperback Crush by Gabrielle Moss, and it is about the history of 1980s and 1990s teen fiction, which was my era. So and looking through, I'm kind of like, oh yes, Sweet Valley High, do we remember this or what? So I think this will be a fun book to go through. The 10th is to read a graphic nonfiction, of which I could pick another one of the Lucy Kinsley graphic novels. I also have not read Mouse by Art Spiegelman, and I have that on my kind of would like to read list. I probably have a few other graphic memoirs or graphic nonfictions that I could possibly go through. Again, this is a little bit more to be determined. And the last prompt, the 12th one, is to read something that allows for some sort of self-reflection or mindfulness or something like that. She said it a lot better. I just kind of tailored it to what I was going to read. But I picked for this The Obesity Code: Unlocking the Secrets of Weight Loss by Jason Fung. And I am always thinking about how chunky I am and diet and eating right and exercising and all of that. So any books like this are very interesting. I had read some pages and was completely enthralled and then put it down. This is my mom's book. I actually have to give it back to her. But this definitely will allow self-reflection. That's an interesting one. And those are the 12 prompts. So I'm hoping that I can get through all of this next year. I hope that that's not asking too much of myself, but I think that reading some of the nonfiction off my shelves will make me feel a little better because 2019 was not very full of nonfiction. Like, I wanted to read my books down, but I ignored the nonfiction section. I think it's time. It's time to get to some of this. So I will talk to you later. Any questions, comments, or thoughts, please leave them below. I'd like to see any people join us. Again, I'm not a super nonfiction reader, so like I'm pretty sure people can do this. We can do this, people. Let's up it a little bit. I am not what I would consider a predominant nonfiction reader, so here we go. I will talk to you all again later. Bye.